В сегодняшнем видеоуроке у нас с вами тема лошади.
The topic of today's video lesson is a female bullfighter riding a horse. I'll work on the horse's movement, its anatomy, and coat texture, and I'll also show how to paint a background. Here is the finished piece I will have by the end of this lesson. This watercolor is dedicated to Leia Vicens, a beautiful and fearless bullfighter, the only elite rejonadora in the world. She performs bullfighting while riding a horse and considers it dancing with the bull. Bullfighting is her dedication, her passion, and her life. She spends from 10 to 12 hours riding on horseback every day. She's not the only female bullfighter, but she's the world's #1 in her dangerous profession. I begin this artwork by wetting both sides of the watercolor paper with a wide flat brush. It is cold-pressed 100% cotton watercolor paper, which has 300 GSM weight. For the color of the horse, I will be using the following pigments: ultramarine, burnt umber, sepia, burnt sienna, and a bit of red. This very limited palette is capable of producing a very wide range of different colors when those pigments are mixed together in various proportions. I will do this artwork a la prima, which means I will finish it in one session. And all figures of this composition will be done in the dry brush on moist watercolor painting technique. Moist paper takes the pigment from the brush tip readily. Every brush stroke stays in place without spreading out because of the right balance of water on paper and on the brush. For all layers, I am keeping the brush just moist enough to hold liquid paint without overloading it with water. This allows me to keep the paint flow under control. I am now painting the Horserider. Paper is still moist, and with the dry brush, I can paint well-defined details that stay sharp despite the paper being moist. To create the silky texture of the horse's coat, I must make a sharp contrast between light and dark areas. The way I am applying the paint on the paper resembles a tonal drawing style rather than picturesque painting. I am preparing a creamy mix of burnt umber with red paint to use this red color for the background. I apply the mix on paper with a flat, natural, soft hair brush, covering big areas with wide brush strokes. Where the background borders the figure, I'm using a smaller, dry brush with less water to keep the borders between colors sharp. Because the bull is secondary and in the background, I'll give it much less attention than to the horse. Here is the finished piece.